Now, I want to first start this off by saying to my lovely wife, I love you. In fact, I do this every single day. Whenever I go to work, I always give her this big hug and this big kiss, and I always tell her that I love her. And then I do this exact same thing whenever I get home. I don't think that there's a shadow of a doubt that I actually love her. But even when I do it on a daily basis, I can't help but feel that could it lose its luster? That the feeling, although very much completely there, could be missed in its completeness when we don't remind ourselves of the entireness of the words that we say. And it isn't until something big happens do we really then actually mean it. That happened to my wife and I recently when she went under a surgery, a moment that surely changed my life and hers forever. And we're going to get into that today. Let's get into the show. Life is just straight up crazy. Now there's a guy to help you navigate through all of it. Welcome to the Madness Method. Hey everybody, I'm Juan de Dios Garcia, and this is the Madness Method. Do you remember the last time that you said I love you to somebody? To the love of your life? Any love of your life. I mean, it could be a dog, a cat, that beautiful car that you have sitting there in your garage. So much do we take these things for granted when they are there all of the time. We expect them to be there forever. And then in a blink of an eye, it's gone. Or you get scared, and then that scare reminds you of the preciousness that that love has to you. Well, that happened to me recently, and to my wife and I recently. You see, a few months ago, my wife had a surgery. Now, obviously, there are a lot of things to be nervous about, but the doctors really did a great job, and they assured us that there's nothing to worry about. Routine, if you will. So they were right. But then all of a sudden, we began to start the process of recovery. So part of her home rehab was to go for these daily walks. After the surgery, it was really a slow-paced walk, and sometimes a need of support physically, but mainly just there for the companionship. And here her and I go for a walk every single day, a nice slow walk where we just get to hold hands. Now, I know having surgery isn't the best thing, but I can't help but be happy knowing that I get to walk slowly holding hands with my wife as a result of it. Regardless of what was, this moment, these moments where I get to hold my wife's hand for 10, 20 minutes at a time, well, is really quite nice. It was a reminder that this is important, that this time spent together, just her and I, going on nature no less, that was important. But why did it take a surgery to remind me? We get caught up in the everyday life of life, and then we forget. We remember to go to work and then do the jobs that need doing, but we often forget the most important thing in front of us, and that's the relationships that bind us, that make us human, the handheld that makes us feel whole. Yeah, making the money is important, and yes, paying the bills and keeping up with the Joneses and, creating more and having abundance is good. I'm not knocking that. But this thing in front of me is maybe more important than that. Now I'm happy that I was reminded that a walk is important, that my connection with my wife is important, that love is important, and then that fostering that on a daily basis is important. But I'll tell you this, I'm not happy. I'm not happy that it took this to remind me, but I am happy that I learned the lesson that won't have me reminded about it ever again. But why does that happen? Why must we wait until something all of a sudden happens in order for us to truly see the value or remember the beauty that is the love that we have for that thing, that person? Why do we have to wait for someone to die or get hurt or leave or whatever? And then in that moment, decide to do something about it. Why don't we do something about it beforehand? And I'm not talking about, changing a law or asking society to change its ways. In this case, it's a person. I'm talking about the inner work that we all must do. It doesn't require us to have a conversation or ask a politician. It asks that we start within and ask of ourselves, why did I wait so long? Why did I wait so long to truly appreciate holding my wife's hand or taking a simple walk with her? Why did I wait so long to tell my dad that I loved him or cared deeply before he passed away? See, now, before we get too far down this rabbit hole, I want to be clear about something. You see, I'm not asking you to shame yourself or even guilt yourself into an inner beating that leaves you calling yourself an idiot for not doing a certain thing. See, we do that enough already to ourselves, and we don't need more of that. Rather, we need love and care. Care to be here telling us that it's okay that it happened. And then let's use this as our starting point to appreciate the things that we do have, the things that we have in our lives, to love, and then all of a sudden to be fully aware of those loves that are in front of us, to be present, to put our phones down for a moment and then truly see what we have staring right in front of us. You see, I'm reminded when I see my nieces who have these boyfriends and then these new relationships that are completely built on these phones that we use when they're away. But when they're together, I don't see a phone in sight. You see, that's the kind of admiration. To see my dog when they want my attention, and then if I leave them for a moment, they remind me with a little bat of a paw to say, hey, right here, you're with me right now, nowhere else. That we put the phones down at the dinner table, and then we have an in-person conversation with those humans that are in front of us, and appreciate those moments. Because those are the moments that we're all going to remember. When we get old, when we die, not the ones that were made on these phones. Now, surely the last words of someone passing is not, hey, post this on my Instagram, dead. No, it's, I wish I had more time. Always remember that I love you. Or in some cases, remember always that you suck, dead. Wow, actually, that would pretty much suck. But the point is clear, that these moments are the real moments. And then the goal in this life is to live in the moments before they get away from us. Does that make sense? And it's never too late to seize that moment, no matter where you are, no matter what your age. From 2 to 92, everyone has an opportunity to take charge and then be in those precious moments right now, and right now, and right now. So how do you do that? How do you take advantage of the lesson of today? The lesson that says to live in the present moment. I'll tell you how. Be present. That's it. Simple. Whatever you're doing, do it. Be there and then nowhere else. If you're having a conversation with somebody, if you're having a conversation, make eye-to-eye contact. Don't look around and pay attention. Pay attention to them, to what they are saying and how they're saying it. Be there. In case you don't know much about me, well, I'll tell you a little bit about me. I have a little bit of ADD, I'll be honest with you, which just pretty much means that my attention gets drawn to other places, well, rather quickly. Now, my wife loves to have conversations with me. And then sometimes we'll be sitting on the couch having a great chat and the TV will be on. And I always have to ask, hey, can I turn this off or mute it? Because I know that it will draw my attention. That at some point in time, I know because I know how I am and I want to give my wife the attention that she deserves. So let me focus. Let me see you. Let me pay attention and be there and nowhere else. And just like that, I'm present. I'm present because I work at being present. And you can do the same. Want to take advantage of the moments? Pay attention. Focus. Be present. Be nowhere else except for what you are doing right then and there. Whomever you're talking to, whatever you're working at, work. Whatever you're hobbying, do that hobby. Don't think about anything else. Do that and nothing else. And then you'll notice the difference that it makes. For my wife, it makes all the difference. All the difference in the world for her to know that her husband is paying attention, real attention to what she is saying. And to know that her husband is working hard to make that happen because she knows how much of a challenge it is for him to do so. And in case you're wondering if I enjoy talking about myself in the third person, he does. He really, really does enjoy it. That Juan is pretty crazy and cool. But seriously, it makes a difference. And then you'll see that your tasks will be memorable, more insightful, and whatever you want them to be because you put your attention towards that thing. Being present is everything for yourself and the other person. That present is actually defined as such. The version of present that is defined as being in a particular place. You're where you're supposed to be, and you're nowhere else. There's a version of a present that defines it as awarding someone ceremonially. You're granting that person in front of you, the nature in front of you, the art, that thing, your attention, and you're 100% there as a result of it. The version that represents itself and says that presence that is defined as a gift given to somebody. It's amazing the gift that you give when you pay attention to someone, to something, when you listen, when you focus on the thing that's in front of you, and then nothing else. Being present is everything. It's the biggest difference between experiencing the grandest thing or missing it entirely. And especially now more than ever, it's important that we begin paying attention to our surroundings, to the people around us, to the beauty that nature provides. I mean, just 5 months ago, my niece graduated from high school. Her mother played this really cool tribute video showing her all these pictures and videos from her youth until now. But all I could think of was the time, how it flew by. I looked at my sister-in-law and I said, I get it now. She said, what do you get? I said, I get why you wanted to go on those vacations, why you wanted to spend so much time with the girls. Because of today, you'll never have those moments back. You'll never have that again. Now she started tearing up. Now I didn't mean to make her cry in that moment, but in that moment, I sincerely got the concept of time and how we need to cherish the moments. My nephew is now turning 3, and my nieces, before you know it, they'll be in middle school and then high school, and everyone around us is going to grow and pass on, and the hope is not forgotten. But how much would it suck knowing that we weren't there for it? That our phone in that moment was more important than the person that's in front of us. That our scattered thoughts or concerned worry was on a problem and not in the moment that we were having with our loved ones. That our trouble of trying to fix issues and work were at the forefronts of our minds when they should be on the dinner that we're having with somebody. Enjoying the simplicity of a meal, and not just with others, but for ourselves. That we deserve to enjoy the little things of a tasty meal in front of us, rather than just cast it aside as calories eaten or a thing done just to consume so that we can get on with our day that, well, apparently is filled with more important things than the things that we are currently doing at that time. And then that those things that we enjoy are experienced fully with our whole being so that we can create the memories that need be created. That our brain form new wrinkles for when we get old and then say to ourselves, hey, remember when? If not, we say something else like, I wish I paid more attention. I wish I focused on things more. I wish I was in the moment. I wish I was present. And speaking from personal experience here, I know I'm not perfect. I know that I need to focus more, work more, be present more. It's not about that. It's about being aware that we can always be better at these things, that we can learn to be aware of when we do it so we get there sooner, so that we put down the phone quicker, so that we pay attention sooner, earlier, so that we can focus on what's really important and then put aside those outside things that really don't, so that we create the experiences that we will hold on to forever, to experience it all, pain and pleasure. Now, I'll continue to focus on making that my goal because I know me and because I know my brain. I know that I need to make this my priority because I want to remember those things. I want to remember the moments that I have with my family, with my dogs, with my wife, and because I don't want to wish that I could have done something better when I know that I can do everything in my power right now to make something better happen today. Because I don't want to be reminded that taking a walk with my wife is a great thing, rather that I already know that it is. And every single time that I do it, it brings a smile to my face, holding her, touching her, smelling her, creating one more memory that will stay with us and me always. And then that to me seems like a world that I would truly enjoy. All right. Thank you very much for watching. Go make some memories of your own and remember to be aware and be present. If you enjoyed this episode, do me a favor, please tell everybody, share it with a friend, subscribe to the channel, and watch more videos like this. If you didn't like this, don't tell anybody. Until then, we'll catch you next time.